Hello, this is Tony Hiller from RealClimateScience.com. Richard Feynman said, "We live in an unscientific age in which almost all the buffeting of communications and television words, books, and so on are unscientific. As a result, there is a considerable amount of intellectual tyranny in the name of science." Let's look at some recent examples which correlate with Feynman's observation. 259 health journals say that Africa is suffering drought and famine due to Western countries burning fossil fuels. Had they looked at any actual data, they would have known that what they were claiming was not true. Crop yields in Africa have tripled over the last 60 years, and the rate of malnutrition in sub-Saharan Africa has plummeted over the last 30 years. 50 years ago, academics and the press blamed drought in Africa and all other kinds of bad weather on global cooling. Now they blame the same weather on global warming. In 1974, NOAA magazine explained how warmer weather reduced droughts in Africa and India, and colder weather was the cause of droughts in Africa and India. They said, in India, before the global warming trend of 1890 to 1940, severe drought struck about once every 4 years. With the warming, however, and more abundant monsoon rains, drought came only once every 18 years or so. Had these 259 health journals done any actual research, they would have known that the exact opposite of what they were claiming was true. Now let's go back 100 years to 1921. Science magazine and the American Association for the Advancement of Science endorsed eugenics. They discussed race character and betterment and a vigorous movement of race hygiene. This was the science which Southern Democrats used to justify segregation of people with darker skin. The science told them that people with darker skin were inferior and a threat to the white Southern Democrats. During the 1930s and 1940s, American academic eugenics was cited by the German government as motivation for trying to exterminate large groups of people. They convinced the public that Jews and some other groups of people were a threat to the good, decent people of Germany. After World War II, Western liberal countries announced that they would never do this again. But never didn't turn out to be very long. Once again, Western liberal governments are using what they call the science as justification to spread fear and hatred of large groups of their own population. The heroes of the left are once again demonizing, destroying, and dividing. And they keep using the word science as justification for their actions.
So the folks out there tonight shouting, the anti-vaxxers, they're wrong. If you want to get on a plane or a train in the coming months, you're going to have to be fully vaccinated because everyone needs to get vaccinated, and those people are putting us all at risk. And yes, there is a small fringe element in this country that is angry, that doesn't believe in science, that is lashing out with racist, misogynistic attacks. Those protesters I don't even want to call them protesters, those anti-vaxxer mobs, they don't get to dictate policy of this government. Get vaccinated, and you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
Aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination, qui sont extrémistes, qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben voyons, la plupart...
You need to condemn those people. You need to correct them. And I am not going to back down, no matter how many of them show up to try and shout us down from what I know to be true, what science tells us.
So you basically said this is going to be like, well, it's almost like, you probably don't see it like this, the two different classes of people. If you're vaccinated or if you're unvaccinated, you have all these rights. If you are vaccinated...
That is what it is, so yep.
Can you describe it? You were previously hoping not to have to do that, I guess, when we still looked like we could maintain elimination across the whole country. I guess that has now changed because...
I think it was less because necessarily of the elimination determining that, and more because we, of course, maintained, and actually we have managed very high vaccination rates generally without the use of certificates. But actually what it's become clear to me is that they're not just a tool to drive up vaccines, they're a tool for confidence. People who have been vaccinated will want to know that they're around other vaccinated people. They want to know that they're in a safe environment. It is a way that we can give confidence to those who are going back into hospitality or events. And so that is something that I think we should offer to people who have been vaccinated, that confidence that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe and that they can come back out and start enjoying those things safely.
What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
In 2005, the United Nations published their Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights. In Article 6, they said, any preventive, diagnostic, and therapeutic medical intervention is only to be carried out with the prior free and informed consent of the person concerned, based on adequate information. The consent, where appropriate, be express and may be withdrawn by the person concerned at any time and for any reason without disadvantage or prejudice. But just 15 years later, Western liberal governments proved that they didn't actually believe any of the things they'd written. Once again, Western liberal governments were using what they called the science as an excuse to demonize, divide, and destroy. The same academic science which was used as justification for segregation 60 years ago. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on these evil people for the past 15 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki Upala, and the 4 new puppies on the web at realclimatescience.com.